Hey guys, welcome to this week's video. This week we're going to be doing the top 10 touring tips. This is for bands that are ready to tour, whether it be supporting or whether it be headlining. And these are little tips and tricks and just general knowledge that we picked up from touring. There's no one really doing courses out there or anything like that about how to put together a live tour, not just booking the shows, but how to actually be a band on tour and survive out there. So we thought we'd throw together 10 top tips to help you guys do that. Hope you enjoy, and here's our top 10. So at number 10, when you get a gig, when you get a tour, the best place to start is by doing the research. And by research, I mean, are you going to be traveling overseas? Is it just in your home country? Obviously, if it's a home country, then you should know a lot of that stuff already. But if you are traveling abroad, then there's certain things that you need to take into account, whether it's visas, carnet, so you can temporarily import and export your instruments and all your equipment. And then there's also things like which kind of power adapters do you need? Do you need something that's going to change a UK plug to a European plug? And if it is that case, then that's fine. You just put one into the other and then put it into the wall. But if you're going to go, say, across the Atlantic and to do shows in America, then you will need something that will change the currency from 240 down to a 120, because the last thing you want to do is cause any electrical mishaps. So make sure you do your research. Make sure you got all the paperwork that you need if you are traveling abroad. Another thing that you need to take into consideration is travel insurance, because if you go out of your home country and you're not covered and something happens, whether it be you just get a stomach bug, which happened to Chris when he was in Austria, or whether you injure yourself by doing something, you need to make sure that you're covered. So travel insurance is pretty damn important. So just make sure you got all your paperwork and then you'll be fine. A head full of knowledge going somewhere is better than being unaware. So do your research.
Cool, that brings us on to number 9, which is hotels. A massive tip is to book in advance, as far in advance as you can. You'll get more choices on rooms, more choices on hotels. We've had experience in the past where I won't mention someone's name, but booked a hotel at the wrong place at the wrong time, and we had to sleep in a van. Not me. So yeah, if you're booking it in advance, you'll get better choices and you're more likely to get the room cheaper. Try and stay somewhere where there's possibly food as well, because you don't want to stop in the middle of nowhere and wake up in the morning hungry, or you get back after the show a bit hungry and there's nowhere to go, especially on days off. So yeah, just make sure you buy somewhere where there's food and you book well in advance.
So the next rule is transport. So there's going to come a time when you, the band and your gear, need to get from point A to point B. So in the early days, we used our personal cars. Me and Rich drove to the gigs and used our cars, but when you upgrade and you get more gear, you're probably going to need to switch to a van. So there are options. You can either full on buy one, which is a big upfront cost because you obviously need to buy the van. You need to MOT it, insurance. But after that, it's pretty self-running. You just need to put the petrol in the van. Or you can rent, hire by the day, which is what we do. It's quite different though. We have a really good relationship with a hire company. So big shout out to Alison and the goals team, who's really looked after us for our tours. Of course, that is more of a cost day by day. So if you look into that, you also need to think what type of van you need, how many members in your band, how much gear you have. So yeah, just have a think about what needs you need for transport, and make sure you get that sorted as soon as you can. So the next rule for new bands, it's not something to worry about straight away, but it's certainly something to think about, is bringing people in that aren't in the band to help you, which we call the crew. So in the early days, you'll probably have family members or friends that will help to jump on your merch stand or help you load in and out. I know in the early days we had Robin's mom and my girlfriend helping out on merch. But as the band grows, you're going to get a professional crew in. So you're going to get tour manager. Well, ideally, if you can find someone that can do two roles, so a tour manager who can maybe do sound, your sound or your merch, that's pretty cool. So yeah, tour manager, you'll need a sound guy. I think they're probably the two most important members of a crew, because your tour manager will basically takes all the worry that you have from a band, i.e. booking hotels, getting you to venues, all that logistics side. They'll take that away from the band and they'll take it upon themselves to sort that out. And of course you're going to need a good sound guy or sound girl, because without that you're at the mercy of the house sound engineer, and there can be really good ones, but also there can be ones that don't really understand what you're looking for with your sound. So if you have someone travelling with you, you eliminate that problem. So yeah, definitely think about tour manager, and definitely think about a sound engineer for when you kind of get a little bit into touring. So the next rule is always have a backup. Everything that you take on tour, you need a backup for. Whether that's backup guitars, backup toothbrush, anything that you take, you need a backup. So basically with gear, say if you've got guitars, amps, pedals, always think about the worst case scenario if anything can go wrong with them. So with a guitar, if anything breaks with the guitar, then you need a backup guitar that can instantly replace that guitar and do the rest of the tour while you get that one fixed. Amps, if an amp can die, you need a backup for that. So, if it dies mid-gig, ideally, if you can, get another amp to switch out. Hopefully it won't break mid-gig, but you do have to think about that sort of stuff. It's mostly gear, but it can be everything. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong if you have that mentality. So always kind of think of a fail-safe. And kind of a big thing with bands that bands are guilty of kind of sweeping this under the rug because they see it as an unnecessary cost. But I think it's probably one of the most important things that any band can do is take out insurance. So if the unfortunate event happens, if you're out on tour and you maybe get something stolen, unfortunately it does happen. We've known numerous bands that have had gear taken out of vans and other storage areas. If most of your gear does get stolen, it can make or break a band, because if all your gear goes, then you can't do the tour. You've got to try and find the money to replace it all. It's a big headache. So if you have insurance, yes, it's an upfront cost. It's probably something where you think, oh man, I haven't got the budget for that. But believe me, if it does happen to you, you will be so glad that you took out insurance, where you can just get everything replaced and still finish a tour. So it's very valuable, I think, insurance. So make sure you insure your gear.
So at number 5, we have learning to live with each other. In a band, you may all be friends, but actually living in each other's pockets can be a really tough challenge. Obviously, Robin and Rich lived together before the band, so that was fine, but that was never used to me and Chris, and me and Chris weren't used to each other. So you got to be like really, really understanding. So if someone's having a high day or a low day, you've got to make sure that you're capable of that, especially on the low days. If someone's a bit homesick, you got to make sure that you're really understanding about that. You don't want to be kind of in each other's faces. You've got to learn to give each other space. Is that it?
That brings us to number 4. And number 4, I think, is one of the most crucial things if you're doing a long tour. If you're doing a few days, it's not so bad. But if you are doing sort of like anything over sort of like 2 or 3 weeks, we've done tours for 7 weeks at a time. And I think one of the most important things that people might not even think about, might not even plan for, is sleep. I think it's super important to get enough sleep on the road, because if you think about it, you've got to load in every day, you've got to play the show, you'll be getting back to a hotel. If you've got a hotel, you're getting back late, and then the travel next day to get to the next show, you'll probably be up early. So you need to kind of make sure that you're getting plenty of rest and good quality sleep as well. I think we've got it down to a bit of a fine art now, but we make sure that we've got enough rest, we've got enough time to get the sleep, and then it's up to every individual if they want to take advantage of that. I do, because when I get up on stage, I want to give it absolutely 100%, and I know that if I get enough sleep, get enough rest, I'm less likely to get ill on tour. I'm less likely to suffer from fatigue, and I'm going to have much more energy. So one thing to consider all the time when you're planning out a tour is make sure to get enough sleep. Super important. Don't overlook it. And that brings us on to number 3, which is pretty much the same as getting the sleep, is make sure that you are trying to keep your diet as healthy as possible. It's tough. It's tough to do it on the road because you're eating at strange times and there's limited places, limited options for you to eat. So the best thing to do is, and we've especially in the UK, I mean this mainly applies to the UK because it's the place that we know most about, but if you can get to somewhere where they will serve vegetables, like a carvery place or something like that, it is super important to get those nutrients in. Also, what goes hand in hand with that is hydration. You need to drink as much as possible. Again, it's going to help fight against getting ill, and also your energy levels as well. It's not really a rule, but we kind of all understand what happens when we drink too much alcohol. That will make you dehydrated real quick. So I'm not saying don't drink on tour, because that's just, but just be careful on how much you're drinking. If you do have a drink, make sure you got a day off the next day on tour. If it's an off day, then feel free. But if you've got a show the next day and you got to be up there giving it 100%, I wouldn't have 12 pints the night before. It's not gonna end up well. Me being a singer, again, it's very important that I keep everything hydrated, otherwise I'm going to lose my voice. I'm going to do damage. And alcohol is the worst catalyst in that. So drink plenty of water, plenty of fluids. I stay off caffeine. I also stay off of dairy because of singing whilst on the road. But get good food, as much good food as you can get. Try not to have too many fast food things, and keep hydrated, and don't go overboard on the alcohol.
Number 2 is prepare your show. So when you find out what length of time you've got on stage, go away, prepare, rehearse the set down to the second, so that you're not running over or coming off short, especially with festivals. No one likes any band to run over because it cocks up every timing that when the bands are coming on next. No one likes that, really. You get shouted at quite a lot. We're thankful enough to basically every rehearsal we do, we time it, and so that we know for a fact that we're going to get off that certain time. So yeah, just prepare and rehearse. In at number 1 is probably the most easiest thing you could be and do on tour. It is just be nice, be professional all the time. Don't be nasty to anyone. Don't have a chip on your shoulder. Because touring's all about having fun and hanging out with your mates. You know, you got to get the job done, but yeah, just don't be nasty about it. I think like it takes more effort to be nasty than it does nice. And no one wants to deal with a nasty person. And so yeah, everyone's there to have fun. So that's it for the top 10. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've learnt something. Any suggestions for any more top 10s, then just let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.